welcome to the Pulse of Africa community. I hope you're doing great today. If you're joining us for the first time, don't hesitate to like, share, and subscribe to stay informed and connected to Africa's most important news reports. Your engagements will help this video to reach more people. Thank you very much.
Today, we're diving into a situation unfolding in Burkina Faso that should have everyone on high alert. Whispers of another coup d'etat are circulating, and the narrative points towards potential Western interference. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Another coup? Seriously? And unfortunately, the answer seems to be a very worrying yes. Remember how Captain Ibrahim Traore came to power just last year, ousting Lieutenant Colonel Damiba? He promised stability, security against the escalating jihadist violence, and a severing of colonial ties that have historically hampered Burkina Faso's development. His Pan-Africanist stance, aligning himself closer to Russia and distancing himself from former colonial power France, definitely ruffled some feathers in Western capitals. And that, my friends, is where things get complicated. We're seeing familiar patterns emerge, the same playbook, if you will, that have preceded destabilization efforts in other African nations. Think back to Libya in 2011. A leader, Gaddafi, vocally opposed to Western influence, suddenly faced internal rebellion, heavily supported by Western powers under the guise of protecting civilians. The result? Chaos, a fragmented nation, and a breeding ground for terrorism. Now look at Burkina Faso. We're hearing increased reports of internal dissent fueled by narratives questioning Traore's effectiveness in combating terrorism, despite some gains on the battlefield. These narratives are often amplified by Western media outlets, creating a perception of failure and justifying potential intervention. It's like pouring gasoline on an already burning fire. Then there's the economic pressure. Western financial institutions, often tied to political agendas, can subtly exert pressure by restricting aid or influencing trade agreements. This can cripple a nation's economy, fueling public discontent and creating an environment ripe for exploitation by external actors. The goal? To create a failed state scenario, justifying intervention under the guise of humanitarianism or security. We're not saying this is definitely happening, but the echoes of past interventions are loud and clear, and we need to pay close attention to the situation on the ground. The shadows lengthen, cracks in the alliance. The whispers started subtly, almost imperceptible at first. After the initial wave of patriotic fervor following Traore's seizure of power, murmurs of discontent began to surface. Economically, Burkina Faso continued to struggle, despite promises of improvement. The fight against jihadist groups remained a brutal, grinding stalemate, consuming resources and claiming lives. The public, initially supportive of the young captain's decisive action, grew weary of the unending conflict. But it wasn't just economic hardship or the ongoing security crisis fueling the dissent. The whispers pointed to something more sinister. Fractures within the very core of Traore's power structure. We have to remember that no coup, no matter how well-intentioned, is a solitary act. It requires a network of support, a coalition of individuals willing to risk everything to overthrow the existing order. And coalitions, as history has repeatedly shown, are fragile things. The rumors centered on disagreements over strategy, both in terms of tackling the jihadist threat and navigating Burkina Faso's increasingly complex relationship with the West, particularly France. Some within the military reportedly felt Traore was too quick to cut ties with traditional partners, arguing that severing all connections with France, the former colonial power, was akin to cutting off one's nose to spite one's face. They felt that isolating the country from potential aid and expertise, however tainted by a history of exploitation, was strategically unwise. These dissenters, according to reliable sources inside Ouagadougou, began holding clandestine meetings, questioning Traore's leadership and openly discussing alternative paths forward. The very act of questioning, of daring to challenge the status quo, was a dangerous game in a nation gripped by political instability. It hinted at a deeper rot, a growing sense that the Traore experiment might be failing to deliver on its promises. Further fueling the tension were allegations, unsubstantiated but persistent, of Western involvement in fostering this internal discord. Specifically, whispers spoke of quiet overtures from French intelligence, seeking to exploit the existing fractures and nurture a more pliable alternative to Traore, someone willing to at least consider a return to the established order, an order that prioritized Western interests.
The narrative, as always with these sorts of situations, is murky and shrouded in ambiguity. Proving direct involvement from external forces is notoriously difficult, but the pieces are falling into place in a way that is disturbingly familiar. Economic pressure, internal dissent, and shadowy whispers of Western manipulation. The stage is being set, carefully and deliberately, for another act in the tragic drama that has become Burkina Faso's destiny. The question now is not if another coup will happen, but when, and who will emerge from the shadows to claim the mantle of power. And more importantly, what will it mean for the ordinary people of Burkina Faso, already struggling under the weight of conflict and poverty? What can we do? Understanding and resisting imperial interference. So what can we, as individuals and as a global community, do in the face of this apparent destabilization campaign against Burkina Faso? The first step, crucial above all else, is education and awareness. Share this video, share credible news sources, challenge the narratives being pushed by mainstream media that often conveniently omit the complexities of the situation, particularly the historical and ongoing role of Western powers in the region. We need to inoculate ourselves and others against the biased reporting that sets the stage for intervention under the guise of humanitarian concern or promoting democracy. Secondly, support independent journalists and researchers who are on the ground in Burkina Faso and other African nations. These individuals are often risking their lives to bring accurate and unbiased reporting to the world. Funding their work, amplifying their voices, and defending them against harassment and censorship is vital in countering the propaganda machine. Look for journalists and researchers who demonstrate a deep understanding of the local context and avoid sensationalized or overly simplistic narratives. Third, pressure your elected officials to adopt a foreign policy based on respect for sovereignty and non-interference. Write letters, make phone calls, attend town hall meetings, and demand that your representatives hold Western powers accountable for their actions in Africa. Specifically, advocate for transparency in aid programs and security partnerships, and push for policies that prioritize economic cooperation and development, rather than military intervention or conditional loans. Remind them that genuine partnerships should be mutually beneficial, not exploitative. Finally, connect and support Burkinabe and African diaspora organizations advocating for self-determination and Pan-Africanism. These groups often have a deep understanding of the challenges facing their homelands and are working tirelessly to promote positive change. Supporting their initiatives, amplifying their voices, and learning from their experiences can be incredibly powerful. Remember, solidarity is not just a word, it's a commitment to action. By combining education, advocacy, and support for local initiatives, we can contribute to a future where Burkina Faso, and indeed all African nations, can chart their own course, free from external interference and the looming shadow of another coup. The fight for sovereignty and self-determination is a global fight, and it requires our collective vigilance and unwavering support. We've explored the growing instability in Burkina Faso, highlighted concerns about potential Western influence in undermining Ibrahim Traore's leadership, and discussed the potential consequences for the country and the wider region. Now, it's your turn. Do you think these allegations of Western interference hold water? What's your take on the future of Burkina Faso under Traore? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this analysis insightful and want to stay informed about crucial geopolitical developments, please give this video a like.
Your support helps us reach a wider audience and continue providing in-depth reporting. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next video uncovering hidden truths and challenging the mainstream narrative. Join the conversation. Stay vigilant, everyone. The fight for true sovereignty continues. God save Ibrahim Traore.